A $200 billion shock emerged unexpectedly. No Western financing, no international branding, just resilience, resources, and a wartime drive. How did a secluded, disregarded country ignite a quiet transformation? Who truly powers the machinery? And what could this signal for Africa's destiny? Stay tuned and subscribe to support the rise of a renewed Africa. Burkina Faso just revealed a $200 billion infrastructure initiative exceeding its national GDP. How can that be feasible under current global financial conditions? And why have both the US and China suddenly become interested? It all started with no celebration, no ceremonies, and certainly no attention from Western news sources, merely a subtle official statement, sparse reports, and then a burst of activity across Burkina Faso's terrain. Construction equipment, in the hundreds, began operating across every region from Sahel to Centre-Sud. Entire villages paused to witness bulldozers forging paths long thought impossible. Soon the number couldn't be overlooked. $200 billion. That's the sum President Ibrahim Traoré's administration officially committed under the newly launched FASO-MIBO, a program designed to transform Burkina Faso's road system entirely. To grasp the scale, the nation's GDP is approximately $20 billion. This wasn't just daring, it bordered on the unimaginable. But it wasn't empty talk. Within weeks of the announcement, over 900 heavy-duty vehicles were procured, shipped, and swiftly set in motion. These machines were not leased. They were fully owned, not run by foreign entities, but by local professionals and trained young citizens. Drone imagery from rural areas displayed a transformation already underway. Road rollers clearing fresh tracks through untouched savanna. Remote villages witnessing paved roads for the very first time. Logistics crews actively drafting roadmaps that could soon span thousands of kilometers. What's more, the initiative wasn't influenced by World Bank models, IMF adjustments, or foreign aid programs. There were no Western emblems in sight. The plan is entirely Burkina Faso created and managed, though reports suggest discreet technical advice is being provided by China. Even experienced Chinese engineers, familiar with global megaprojects, are reportedly stunned by both the magnitude and local independence of this mission. For years, Africa has been a continent full of ambitious declarations and unfulfilled infrastructure schemes. But this time feels distinctly different. No ceremonial inaugurations, no small-scale pilot studies, just full-scale rollout, executed with urgency as if in wartime. Still, a crucial question remains unanswered. How did a country troubled by security concerns, economic struggles, and decades of turbulence manage to execute such a move unnoticed? Sources near the administration say the preparation began months earlier with careful planning. Billions were quietly secured through gold exports, select partnerships, and assertive domestic resource efforts, all without international visibility. As one expert put it, they built the engine before revealing the race. Beyond funding, it's the massive scale of organization that's capturing global attention. This isn't a showcase centered on the capital or one corridor. Every region is engaged. Each province holds a role. Every stretch of road is symbolic. In certain zones, work continues through the night under high security, ensuring progress even where insurgents may threaten sabotage, and the ambition doesn't stop with roads. Deep within the FASO-MIBO, a framework are broader aims to connect road systems with agricultural centers, electricity access, schools, and health facilities, creating a physical matrix of development that could redefine West African potential. Skeptics still expect the project to collapse under its own weight, yet momentum only grows. Behind the scenes, even previously doubtful governments are reconsidering their stance on Burkina Faso. Is this simply a bold phase, or are we witnessing the first tremors of a regional transformation? Burkina Faso may have once been a faint mark on the continent. Now the world is watching intently, each fresh mile of pavement suggesting a possible rewrite of African progress, which brings us to the next enigma. What exactly is the FASO-MIBO initiative? How is it structured, and how did it burst forth with such sudden and overwhelming impact? The announcement of $200 billion may have shocked the globe, but what fuels it, what drives it forward, is even more remarkable than anyone anticipated. The FASO-MIBO initiative is not a glittering megaproject crafted for media buzz or press attention. It is a meticulously structured, internally developed, the engine of national change. And the deeper you explore, the more profound and expansive it becomes. Many assume road development is merely about concrete, asphalt, and counting kilometers. Yet what President Traoré has revealed is entirely different. This is far more than a road-building task. In many ways, it's a reinvention of the government's very operating logic. Unlike conventional public programs, FASO-MIBO didn't arrive with extravagant launches or foreign advisors showcasing vibrant slide decks. Instead, it emerged equipped with machinery, local task units, and what insiders describe as pinpoint accuracy. That's because the program doesn't run through standard ministries often bogged down in slow processes and red tape. It functions under a wartime-style developmental system, a centralized, action-first model designed to implement, not to negotiate. There are no missing pieces, no bureaucratic overlap. Each bulldozer has a set path, every crew has a fixed deadline, and every village along the track has a function or it's not included. Every settlement must contribute directly to a road or it doesn't receive one. Even the term Faso Amiboe carries meaning beyond physical routes. Translated from local dialects, it can mean the road to ourselves or the path of return. It signifies more than construction, it signals a mental journey, a return to sovereignty. After decades of externally imposed agendas, this project ensures that progress is guided solely from within the nation. Each built kilometer is a statement, carved in stone, that Burkina Faso is choosing its own future, no longer waiting for validation from Paris, Washington, or Brussels. If you believe Traoré is forging a new path for his people, share your view in the comments and type Amen if you support him. This operational strategy is unlike anything currently seen across the region. Instructions do not come through bureaucratic paperwork, but through direct command chains. Every district from Sahel to Cascades to Centre-Oust has strict monthly construction targets. Progress is tracked through GPS systems. Drones are actively observing fieldwork in real time, and disciplinary steps are taken swiftly if misconduct or delay is discovered. Several regional leaders have reportedly been removed discreetly for underperformance. This is not the slow-mo shown delayed in development culture. This is implementation urgent and unstoppable, driven by the urgency of national survival. What makes this initiative even more unexpected is its complete rejection of outdated development templates. While it borrows structural inspiration from China's Belt and Road, it decisively abandons the debt-heavy models of the past. These roads are not created by foreign builders or dependent on tide aid. Instead, Burkina Faso is backing the effort. With revenue from gold, internal tax reforms, and cautious use of national reserves, there are no handouts involved, no IMF signature visible. This is financial independence in action, demonstrated through stones, tar, and the effort of its own citizens. The labor force is fully local, not just for manual work, but for planning, engineering, and oversight. University students are being directly brought into project teams and trained on site in logistics and engineering. Some had never encountered a construction machine before. Now, they operate graders and road rollers with military-style precision. Others are rapidly elevated into leadership roles, breaking away from the long-standing tradition of hiring consultants from abroad. But the core uniqueness of Faso Amiboe lies in its foundational vision. The roads are not placed arbitrarily. They are strategically aligned with farming zones, logistical choke points, education gaps, and key security regions. The blueprint is intentional, almost surgical. Each province is tasked not only with distance goals but with social outcomes, boosting school attendance, lowering maternal death rates, and improving food transport across isolated areas. These are not purposeless roads. They are lifelines of a future nation. And perhaps the boldest element of all is the project's long-term structure. Unlike Western models shaped by 5-year political terms, Faso Amiboe is designed in 25-year cycles. It does not aim for short-term praise or media attention. It aims for lasting impact. That vision alone is what sets it apart from the donor-led, pilot-saturated models that have hindered African progress for generations. Burkina Faso is not testing theories anymore. It is constructing systematically, persistently, and with firm intent. While the global audience may still be fixated on the $200 billion figure, what truly deserves their focus is the intricate framework steadily emerging behind it. Because this is far more than a routine road strategy. It represents the physical embodiment of an entirely new governance philosophy, one rooted in independence, driven by urgency, and defined by a firm rejection of waiting for external approval. And the tangible outcomes are already surfacing. But how do these roads convert into actual, everyday benefits for farmers, traders, laborers, and ordinary Burkina citizens? The answer can be summed up in a single term: flow. The flow of products, the flow of people, the flow of labor, the flow of collective knowledge and opportunity. This circulation is now generating an economic rhythm that was previously absent. In a nation where poor infrastructure once stretched basic travel into multi-day ordeals, the introduction of broad, accessible highways is doing far more than simplifying transit. It is reorganizing and re-energizing the entire economic foundation. From the most local level, what was once called distant is now reclassified as accessible. Villages previously tagged as isolated are transforming into hubs of movement and exchange. Lands that once lay fallow due to their inaccessibility are now being cultivated, processed, and sold within the span of a few days. The financial consequences of road access are often underestimated, but in Burkina Faso, they are proving to be revolutionary. For years, transportation expenses consumed up to half the value of goods in rural zones. A sack of onions might fetch 5,000 CFA in an urban market, but the struggle to transport it over broken terrain, collapsing bridges, and flood-prone routes made the effort seem pointless. Farmers had to settle for meager local prices or watch their crops decay untouched. That narrative is now being rewritten. Paved roads change the equation. Reports from newly linked areas show an immediate rise in small-scale agricultural activity. Farmer cooperatives are forming at key highway points, Grain is being protected in better, more resilient storage facilities. Perishables are being transported more quickly than ever before, and women, who are central to local market systems, are emerging as some of the greatest beneficiaries. With faster access, they can deliver goods, restock inventory, and manage their businesses with greater efficiency, to more stable incomes and greater settlement. But the transformation is not confined to farming. It is also visible in the growth of roadside micro-businesses. Whole communities are taking shape along the new asphalt corridors. Like greenery after rainfall, repair centers, food vendors, gas stations and motorcycle depots are appearing near intersections and rest stops, in places that once fell into darkness each night. Electric lights now shine, powered by solar grids being constructed alongside the roads. The labor landscape is evolving too. One of the most underreported elements of the project is its steady and meaningful integration of unemployed youth. In a nation where joblessness has long been a major challenge, FASO-MIBO functions like a nationwide employment platform. Young people are learning trades, bricklaying, machinery operation, land surveying, project coordination, not as charity but as part of a national development mission. These aren't symbolic roles or temporary gigs. They are real jobs, with actual paychecks, concrete timelines, and opportunities for advancement. Some young workers are being taught to build infrastructure. Others are trained in inspection, regulation, and upkeep. And as these workers move across the country, so does spending. In several newly accessible areas, mobile money usage has doubled. Markets that once operated only twice a week are now active daily. What's happening is a visible redistribution of income and opportunity, not by government mandate, but through direction. The road itself determines where money flows, and its ripple effects continue to expand. With new access comes migration, not outward, but inward. Skilled tradespeople from large cities are relocating to smaller towns where demand is surging. Teachers are now more willing to accept assignments in rural schools, knowing paved roads connect them to medical services, family, and other essentials. Even small businesses from the capital are shifting toward less congested and more promising regions. A reversal of the rural-to-urban migration trend that has strained African cities for decades is now clearly taking shape. And then there is trade. Burkina Faso may be landlocked, but it sits at the very center of West Africa. With the right infrastructure, it stands to become a critical transit state linking Mali, Niger, Togo, and Côte d'Ivoire into a fluid network of commerce and mobility. Already, informal cross-border trading is increasing. Merchants who once avoided risky bush paths and muddy detours are now rerouting through structured, safer corridors. The nation is starting to resemble less a scattered collection of isolated, rural pockets and more a cohesive, connected economic organism. What's essential to understand is that none of this transformation came from external recalibration. It was not the IMF that increased the wealth of farmers. It was not the European Union that created new access points for regional trade. It was a local decision, one rooted in intention to pour asphalt and, with it, chart a new national trajectory. But with movement comes exposure, and this leads us to a deeper, more strategic tier of the FASO-MIBO framework: security. These roads are not just arteries for goods, they carry the weight, presence, and assertion of state authority. As trucks thunder down formerly deserted trails and commerce ignites at every new intersection, one might easily assume the initiative is purely economic, but beneath the surface lies a far more deliberate strategy. These roads were designed not just to connect but to confront, not with weapons, but with presence, through speed, through coordination, through access. For years, Burkina Faso has wrestled with armed insurgency, particularly in its northern and eastern belts, where foreign-trained militants, criminal syndicates, and separatist fighters exploited one fatal advantage: isolation. Dirt paths, broken terrain, and flood-prone tracks rendered entire regions unreachable for months on end. Security alerts were often too late. By the time forces responded, the attackers had already vanished into the geography. These were not just transportation challenges. They were voids in sovereign control. Now the geography is changing. Quite literally, new asphalt is extending into places where the government had been absent for decades. What once required for grueling hours across treacherous terrain now takes just 40 minutes along a smooth paved road. And with that speed comes a shift in posture. Security forces can now deploy faster. Hotspots can be stabilized with greater efficiency. Intelligence can circulate more smoothly through both civilian and official channels. Several forward outposts that were once under constant threat have reported a complete halt in insurgent activity since the arrival of major road links. The militants didn't withdraw because of more weapons. They withdrew because the state arrived first, with organization, with logistics, and with visible determination. And it's not just the military that benefits. Communities that were previously compelled to negotiate with armed groups for safe passage, trade routes, or access to drinking water are now making choices, and increasingly, they are choosing the government. Why? Because these roads brought more than uniformed men, they brought consistency, reliability, and trust. Mobile health units now show up on time. Relief supplies arrive when expected during dry spells. School children receive books and materials exactly when promised. The idea of government, once a distant concept rumored about in Ouagadougou, has become something tangible, something operational. It's no longer a theory. It's a working network of services, moving with pace and precision. There's also a psychological component. In places long neglected, the sudden appearance of graders, bulldozers, and surveyors has been deeply jarring. Entire generations have grown up never witnessing state-led construction firsthand. For many, public authority was synonymous with NGO banners or white UN vehicles. But today, the state shows up with its own fleet, its own branding, its own workforce, and its own confidence. That kind of visibility is transformative. It broadcasts a clear message: Burkina Faso is not waiting to be saved. It is actively laying claim to every road, every field, every village. Even the order in which roads are being rolled out follows an intentional security-centered playbook. Before large-scale construction begins in volatile regions, community liaison officers are dispatched to engage local leaders, assess threats, and build small-scale systems of local surveillance. Youth from these same communities are hired to support the construction teams, creating not only income but a deep sense of involvement and shared ownership. Villagers are no longer watching from the sidelines. They are stepping in, becoming guardians of the very infrastructure now linking them to food, to healthcare, to classrooms, and to commerce. In some areas, village elders have even begun identifying suspected militant positions before attacks can occur, actively safeguarding the lifelines that now serve their communities. Yet, this transformation has not gone unchallenged. There have been ambushes, night convoys have come under fire, construction equipment has been targeted in remote zones, but none of this caught the government off guard. In fact, it was anticipated. Embedded into the very architecture of the project is a layer of protection: mobile defense units, trained and equipped not only to build but to defend. Think of them as a dual force: engineers with the instincts of infantry, soldiers with the blueprints of planners. They lay the road and guard it simultaneously. This is where Faso Mayabo breaks new ground. It grasps a reality that many have chosen to ignore. In Africa, infrastructure is never just about transport. It is about control. It is terrain, and terrain is contested. Whoever holds the roads holds the future. Curiously, this entire doctrine is being executed without spectacle. There are no rallies, no banners, no slogans, just movement, quiet, precise, and unwavering. But the message is loud and unmistakable. These roads do not just connect the country, they protect it. Still, with billions committed, with military and civilian spheres increasingly intertwined, and with results that defy old models, a more unsettling question begins to take shape. Is Burkina Faso forging a new model of stability, or is it painting a target on its own back? Because by now, one thing is certain: Faso Mayabo is not just an infrastructure project. It is a statement, a bold physical inscription in the red earth of Burkina Faso, a nation saying, we will not be broken, we will not be controlled. But as the roads expand outward, threading through provinces, markets, and former front lines, something else is traveling with them: influence. And in geopolitics, influence is never silent. Within months of the initiative's rollout, quiet murmurs began surfacing across the region. Delegations from Mali, Niger, Togo, and even parts of Ghana have reportedly arrived discreetly to observe, not because the model is perfect, but because it is brave. A country under sanctions, a country facing insurgents, a country shunned by donors, and yet it is executing a $200 billion project with military precision and visible results. That doesn't just raise eyebrows, it rewrites assumptions. For decades, global institutions have dictated Africa's timelines, priorities, and methods. Now they are being bypassed entirely. Here stands a state that has dismissed the World Bank playbook, rejected the traditional funding channels, and still delivered what its people were promised. And perhaps the most radical act of all was not in pouring concrete, but in choosing to do so without waiting for anyone's blessing. President Traoré and the people behind him made a decision that Burkina Faso would move forward, not with permission, but with purpose, not under supervision but under sovereignty, no longer waiting on approval from Paris, or Washington, or Brussels, only looking inward for belief, for resolve, for momentum. And through that belief, something has started. Something irreversible. You see it in the eyes of the farmer who now sells his produce before it spoils, in the hands of women counting new profits beside roadside stalls, in the footsteps of children walking for the first time to school on solid ground. This isn't a dream. It's already happening. What do you think of President Traoré's decision to build a future without loans, without strings, and without delay? Do you know of other projects quietly reshaping Africa's destiny from the inside out? Let us know in the comments. And if there are stories from Senegal, Rwanda, Ghana, or anywhere else you want us to cover, tell us. Like the video, share it, subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.